So starting off with soft ochre all over Ilwa's eyelid, I'm using a circle windscreen wiper motion to ensure the eyeshadow is well blended. I'm working towards the brow area just to ensure we have a seamless blend. One thing about me is I always make sure it's perfect before I go in. So I'm just building up the colour with this mauvey purple shade because I am using a really bright purple to land with. So blending it up and down and all around is kind of my thing, just fixing my friend's hijab because modest and all that. Now I'm adding a deep purple into her outer corner just to sort of build up the crease, and I'm putting it just below the crease line. So I'm taking it right into her inner eyelid and pat and pushing it all the way in. Really cute, guys. So as you can see, she's got beautiful eyelids anyway, so it's quite easy. So I'm just building up that deep purple to ensure that it peeks through once I put on that bright lilac that you're about to see. So just going over, making sure it blends with my transition color. Guys, it's supposed to look perfect, okay? Don't worry if you don't get it right the first time, but what we want to do is just practice that windscreen wiper motion. So now I'm just practicing on soft ochre because I really want my main shadow to be super pigmented. And this is quite a cute eye. Now I'm using the 217 to pat on my lilac shade. And the reason why I'm using a patting motion because I want maximum pigment. Pat, and then I'm going to slightly blend that color right into the transition color. And this is going to make sure we have that cute blend. Just going over my work nicely. What do you guys think so far? So she's kind of enjoying herself. So I just added the lashes and I'm just using strobe cream because so just applying the color corrector in pure orange just to make sure my foundation doesn't have any ashiness peeking through. I'm using a Real Technique Instapop and NC50 Pro Longwear waterproof just to ensure it bounces perfectly. I'm working in sections. It's so easy to just put that foundation all over your face and before you know it, it looks quite streaky. So I'm pushing that brush in, making sure that it's nice and skin-like. And the strobe underneath is making it nice and illuminating. So I've just used her foundation to carve out her top of her brow. We don't do halo brows in 2020, guys, so get with the program. Just use your foundation to clean at the top using the brush 195, and I'm using my Instapot brush just to blend it out. So nice and lovely. I'm actually kind of moving my head around just to make sure I can actually see what I'm saying, guys. So back and forth, ensuring that I cannot see where that foundation begins and ends. Your foundation should take the longest, okay? Making sure it's nice and blended. You going over her brow area again to make sure it's nice and sharp towards the front, but avoiding that trumpet brow. What I'm doing again is pushing that foundation in between her brow area because that's one area that I find foundation goes crazy. Now I'm applying the Pro Longwear concealer. This acts as insurance for me because if the foundation gives up, Pro Longwear concealer will not. And I'm using a concealer color that's the same color as her skin tone before I go in with a crazy highlight. I'm using my Real Techniques color correcting brush to push in that concealer. I'm not a fan of sponges because I kind of like to know exactly where that concealer is moving, but what I'm doing, I'm just pushing it towards her nose bridge and dabbing it. I'm working in sections. That's the biggest thing you're going to take away from this. Buffing out the concealer from her side, and this is going to help us with the reverse contouring process. And now I'm adding the NW32 Studio Fix concealer under her eyes and using the NW55 Studio Finish concealer to contour Ilwa's cheekbones. Isn't she gorgeous, guys? She just got that beautiful face, cute canvas. So I'm working with her natural contours. Contouring is not a one size fits all, okay? And I'm using something pretty warm. With deep skin, you want to go as warm as you can, and they're going with a cool contour color. And I'm using the foundation brush to buff in that contour just to make sure it melts in with her skin. And I've used the NW32 to rest in the center because I want that concealer to be pigmented. I'm just going over her contour areas, just make sure everything is nice and chiseled. So just giving us that cute effect without looking harsh, guys. Harsh contour is not in. Kind of have a healthy medium between bronzing, contouring. Now I'm buffing out the NW32 with my same color correcting brush. And can you see how bright it is? But because we've got that concealer underneath, it doesn't look crazy, nor is she going to look ashy. It just melts within her skin. And make sure you push that product in and make sure your client always looks up, okay? She looks crazy right now, but I promise you in a few seconds this is gonna look sharp, she's gonna look ready, and you can go back to the picture and zoom. Okay, so make sure you really get the under eye because that's where the creases tend to pop out, and we want no creasing because when it comes to makeup, it's all about skin work. No one's going to see how beautiful your eye work is if your skin work is looking crazy. So just go in with the foundation brush just to make sure everybody's back. Foundation is so important. Make sure you get that color right because any mistake you make, you can just go back straight to the foundation and make sure it matches her skin shade. Just using a bit of Fix Plus to rehydrate her base because using the RCMA powder on that hydrated Fix Plus base to push in the powder. Guys, you don't have to bake with everybody. Make sure you know the skin type of your client. Ilwood has normal to combination skin, so I don't need to leave that powder for too long. As you can see, it just looks as flawless as if I've left the powder on for 10 minutes. Make sure you push that powder into all the concealer areas so they're set. Now I'm using a Smashbox brush to push in medium deep mineralized powder by MAC just to make sure the concealer keeps its color, because sometimes RCMA can oxidize, but what we want to do is use that extra insurance. As you can see, I'm all about insurance, guys. What we want to do is make sure that base lasts all day. Really cute. Look at her face, very cute. She's feeling herself. So again, pushing that powder on her chin, her top lip and her forehead area. Okay, now I'm using the deep dark bronzer just to push into the NW55 areas, and I'm pushing in the powder before I start swirling, because if you start swirling straight away, it can lift the product. Now that we're all set, I'm just going to continue to finish off Ilwood's eye with the same deep purple I use in her crease. So just to balance the eye, all the eyes are all about balance. Whatever you do at the top, try your hardest to do at the bottom. And I'm using the Morphe M507 to just brush that lilac color underneath that deep color that I've just applied. Now I'm just applying her blusher. I'm using Pinch Me by MAC on the apples of her cheeks. I'm team apples. I'm not really about team contour blush. And I'm using a matte white eyeshadow in between her inner corner. For me, this is the best bit, highlighting. I'm using Whisper of Guilt to buff in that highlight. I'm all about glowy, succulent, sexy skin. So just pushing that highlighter into her skin. And I'm just using it on her cheekbones and slightly above. And I'm taking a little bit on her brow bone. I use a lot of highlighter in the center and even on the temples, just to make sure the skin looks glossy all around. What do you guys think? Oh, she's so cute. The eyeshadow is popping. Okay, always put extra on the cheekbones, Cupid's bow. I've got a bit of a problem. I'm using the MAC Extended Play on her bottom lashes, and how cute is that? And I'm using MAC Chestnut to outline her lip and using Honey Love in the center, and I'm making her rub her beautiful lips all together. Okay, always make sure your client rubs their own lips. Don't try and do any buffing because sometimes it can look a little bit crazy. That's Nuha's little fingers in the corner over there. Just buffing that in, and I'm going to use a Lost lip gloss just to make sure just to marry the liner and the lipstick. And I'm using clear gloss just on her top lip and her bottom lip. Here we have a zoom. She's doing cam, she's doing